Well, good evening, my fellow politicos. It is I, the conservative pelican. And yes, I'm gonna stop talking like Count Chocula. So in this video, I'm gonna continue with my coverage of the 2021 North Carolina Republican Party Convention. In this video, I'm going to cover the events of the morning of Saturday, June 4th, and that particular morning's business session. And in terms of the whole convention, as you can see, I'm back now in my bedroom and shooting this video a couple weeks after the convention took place. This Saturday morning, when I look back now at the convention, was definitely the most exciting part of the convention weekend. This Saturday morning was right when the convention hit its peak. Starting Saturday afternoon, things, unfortunately, in my opinion, the poop hit the fan. But more about that on the Saturday afternoon and Sunday morning sessions videos. Hopefully I'll have the rest of the convention videos up by the end of June. That's my goal. So now I'm going to cover Saturday morning's business session. So we got started at 9:15 a.m. Originally we were planning on 9:30, but convention chairman Billy Miller decided to move things up 15 minutes, and we got started with Josh Frazier, who's president of the NC Teenage Republicans. And what is so awesome to know about Josh Frazier is the very night before he was graduating from high school. So he does his high school graduation. He didn't say what part of the state he was from, but for him to have a high school graduation, well, the evening before, and then be right at the convention center at 9:15 a.m. on Saturday morning to do a speech, I think that is an awesome thing. Because most high school graduates as soon as they graduate from high school, what do they want to do? They want to go to so-and-so, the most popular kid's house in the class, and they want to party. And they might get into some drinking, and might get into a little bit of, sex stuff or whatever. But anyway, back to politics now. Mr. Frazier said that over the last election cycle, the TARS did 120,000 voter contacts, and they just want to announce that their annual convention will be on July 31st at the NCGOP headquarters in Raleigh. Now we heard from, we had the RNC update. Keisha Weinberger spoke first, and she has been given a spot on the very powerful and probably my most favorite committee in the RNC, and that's the Rules Committee. And if you go on the C-SPAN website and you want to watch some sausage getting made and some really good inter-party debate, you got to watch the 2016 RNC Rules Committee meeting. Okay, what usually happens is right before both parties, Democrats, Republicans, of course, every 4 years you have the presidential election, but the summer before the general election happens, both parties will have their big conventions. Now, these conventions only happen 4 years. They're the National Republican or National Democratic conventions. Well, the week before the convention, both parties have their Rules Committee meeting. Okay, and this Rules Committee meetings, they I think 2016 they took like I kid you not, about 3 days. Over the course of 3 days, it was like over 20 hours of meetings. Now in 2020, because of COVID, the RNC just said that we're not going to have a rules committee meeting. The only thing we're going to say is that the 2016 rules, we're just going to go ahead and use for 2020. We're not going to have the rules committee. But in 2024, I hope to go to the National Republican Convention and actually be able to attend the Rules Committee meetings in person. Because on C-SPAN, you probably get about 90% of the meetings, but still, it's still good to be in the room and see, the drama and see the escalation of these rules, because, some of them are pretty controversial. I'll just say that. So we wish Keisha Lineberger the best of luck on the Rules Committee. The chairman of the state party, North Carolina Republican Party, Mr. Michael Whatley, has been made the head chair of the Southern Chair Caucus. So it basically means pretty much all the chairs of the state parties from North Carolina, and then goes down around Florida, I think over to Texas. Well, he's head of all those states. It's like 10 or 15 states or something, but pretty big deal. Ed Broyhill, who is the National Committee man of the RNC, he was picked one of only 8 RNC members. This is like out of 100. Well, of those 100, only 8 were selected to be on the presidential nomination committee. And what this committee is in charge of is it's in charge of who gets, what state goes when in terms of the significance of the primaries, and also where the if there are going to be any debates or if there's going to be any contention for the Republican presidential nomination. Mr. Broyhill, along with 7 other people, will be looking for debate venues and that sort of thing, and who they want to use Fox News, CBS, blah 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 blah, that kind of thing. Now Keisha Lineberger, she's currently running for a spot on the site selection committee. And that site selection is for choosing where to have the 2024 Republican National Convention. Are they going to do what the state party did, which is essentially just say, well, the state convention was going to be in Greenville in 2020, but it got postponed because of the COVID's mess. So in 2021, they came back and said, we're going to go to Greenville and have the convention. In 2020, actually back up, 2018, the RNC selected Charlotte, North Carolina, to host the 2020 convention. Well, we all know what happened with COVID and Governor Cooper and his ilk, his opposition to the convention. It got moved to Jacksonville, Florida, but then Donald Trump said, no, we're not going to have the convention at all. So is the RNC going to go back to Charlotte for 2024? Or, this is what I think the smartest move for the RNC personally is to have the convention somewhere out west. Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada, maybe Texas, but I think I think the GOP is still in relatively good shape in Texas. They are not in good shape, however, in the Southwest, Nevada, New Mexico, Arizona. The Democrats are, the Democrats are like termites out west, right? They've destroyed the whole entire West Coast, and now they're starting to destroy Arizona. They've destroyed New Mexico. They've destroyed Colorado. Thankfully, Utah is like 80% Republican. Thankfully, yeah, because they can't eat Utah. Texas is still fairly Republican. I think Donald Trump you know, if it were another candidate, you would still see Texas as an R plus 10. Right now it's only like an R plus 6. I think Texas can get back to a double-digit Republican state. I still think so. Some people say Texas is not looking very good for the Republicans. I still think it is. But again, biggest concern is Southwest for the GOP, in my opinion. They do not need to go back to a state that still, the last 3 Republican cycles, I know it's been close in North Carolina, but the Republicans have still won the presidential election. Maybe they go to Georgia, because now Georgia has become a problem, and that's, I'm trying not to veer off topic here, but Georgia has become a problem, like within the blink of an eye or a snap of a finger. It just very quickly went from an R plus 6 to a D plus 1. I mean, almost overnight it went from a 7-point swing towards the Democrats. Maybe not overnight, but over the course of like 2-year period. 2 to 4 year period, but still very quick, very quick. Okay, back to the convention. Okay, also, should be noted that the RNC, according to Keisha Lineberger, the RNC committee woman for North Carolina, the RNC took in $50 million alone in the month of March 2021. The RNC, since the beginning of 2021, has experienced record-breaking fundraising. Okay, now we get to the part of the convention. My biggest pet peeve of covering these conventions is when somebody from my county delegation, they have to come in 20-25 minutes late to the convention. After it starts, they have to walk in, and guess who has the only empty seat in the house? And guess where it is? It's right next to yours truly. The only empty seat left for Guilford County is right next to me. So I gotta, Ted Budd is speaking. I have to move out of the way, rearrange my bags, my notebooks. And by the time Ted Budd gets done, I haven't been able to write any of what he said. Or, excuse me, by the time I get comfortable and reacquainted with my seating arrangement, Ted Budd is done speaking. I miss his entire speech because of some nincompoop from my county insist on arriving at the convention late. And not just late, 30 minutes late. Crazy. So if you're watching this and you attend conventions, right, especially for my county, but any county, state, please make it a point to arrive at the convention hall at least 15 minutes early, okay? That way you'll have plenty of time to get to your seat, find a seat, get comfortable. You don't have to be like that nincompoop who decided to walk right in when I'm trying to hear what Ted Budd has to say and totally distract me. Don't be that person, please. Okay, now it would have been nice to get some notes on Ted Budd, but I got some notes from Virginia Foxx, who is, before Donald Trump arrived in the GOP, she had a reputation of being an establishment, kind of a rhino Republican, but she's done a little bit better. Still, if I were in her district, I would take, and if you are in Virginia Foxx's district, I would strongly consider you to at least take a peek or take a look-see at the candidacy of Bo Hines. Please, just consider him, please. But Virginia Foxx, woman from Northwest North Carolina, talked about Joe Biden's just awful agenda. It's free college for illegal aliens, taxpayer-funded abortion, and bringing back the death tax. Congresswoman Foxx did say that she worked with Donald Trump on regulatory reform. Oh, and by the way, she got a standing ovation, which Well, I was a little surprised because Greg Murphy didn't even get a standing ovation, and Greg Murphy's the congressman who represents where I was for the convention, Greenville, right? Okay, so at this point in the convention, it was time to go into the dun plan of organization. And out of 10 proposed amendments that the convention body digested, only 2 were supported by the convention body. Everything else was thrown out. Crazy times. And it should be noted that the chairman of the Plan of Organization Committee, is a gentleman by the name of Scott Cumby, who hails from the county that is about 7 miles to the west of me in Forsyth County. And it should be noted the Plan of Organization, they met every single weekend in March and April. And when you add up those, and Saturday and Sunday, yes, every weekend, March and April, and it was said by Mr. Cumby that 600 to 700 man hours were spent looking at the plan of organization and coming up with these 10 proposed changes. Now, what I like about this was Mr. Cumby did a very good job of going through these changes, or proposed changes, excuse me. He went through these proposed changes, and he broke up the 10 proposed changes into little bites. Okay, so the first bite was, we looked at Amendment 2, 3, 4. Bite's not the right word, but I think you get my drift, right? Okay. And I tell you what, I'm getting a little tired here. I'm going to go ahead and call it a night, and tomorrow, or on my next video, we're going to actually start right back up with the Plan of Organization Committee. So, for the Conservative Pelican, from Greensboro, North Carolina, the greatest city in the USA, good night.